Hello and welcome to this follow-up to the first video in PSD to HTML and CSS. This is just a clarification for some questions that may have arisen in that first video. The first question that comes to mind is, how do I know what to slice? How do I know that I shouldn't just slice every single pixel in the PSD file? Well, knowing what HTML and CSS, particularly HTML5 and CSS3, what they can do is going to really help in making a smooth transition from your PSD to an actual website and in realizing what you should and shouldn't bother slicing. The more images that you have on a website, obviously the slower that website's going to be. Although I will show you how to optimize the slices that you do create, it's important to try your best to have as few images as possible if you can. Of course, if you are just an image-heavy website, then you just have to deal with it. But if you don't have to create sliced images, that's much better. So in order to answer your question on what you should slice, let's talk about what you don't need to slice. Text is a really common thing that when you're first starting out, you just want to slice everything and make all this text an image. And just put the image in the code and use CSS to put it right on the page where you want it. But if you can, if there is maybe either a font, a web font that you can use in lieu of the font that you created in Photoshop. Maybe you downloaded a free font that's not found elsewhere. Maybe you can substitute that with a web font, or maybe you just need to change the font altogether, or maybe the font really does play a huge role in the design of your site. So let's say, for example, that this font here, the hello and welcome for this PSD file, wasn't found anywhere else. There was no @FontBase, there was no nothing that could substitute this for a web font. The best thing that you'd want to do is simply go ahead and make that slice. And then just treat this as an image once you slice that. But things like this, where there's lots and lots of text, things like these little side links here, all this paragraph text, try your best to not slice those and create those as images, because the more text you have, it's also going to be more helpful in your search engine optimization. Another one, and CSS3 is doing a really good job at sort of bringing this out, is these little lines right here that look like they've been letterpressed. Those you can actually make in CSS. This line here you can make in CSS. Things like textured backgrounds, I'll show you how to slice that here in a second if I have time in this video. There's a textured background here, there's a textured background here. We don't need to make the entire PSD file a huge slice. We literally take maybe something like that big, or maybe something like that big maximum, and then we just repeat that in CSS. So that lowers the loading time, and it helps with our bandwidth issues and all of that sort of thing. But things like this, you can't make that in CSS, so that needs to be a slice. The logo, that definitely needs to be a slice, because there's no way that I know of on how to code axes in CSS and HTML. Let's see, things like forms, like this search bar here, you can make that in HTML. Especially with the new HTML5, they have very dynamic forms. Things like this, you can make that in CSS and HTML. Let's look around here. What else do we need? We'll want to slice this little bit here, because that's a very sort of iconic image. And that should be, oh, this little guy here. Probably going to want to slice him, make him into an image. And that looks like everything that we're going to need for this page. So really, not too much to slicing. So it looks like I'll make another video to show you what exactly you can do to optimize the slices that you do make and help you to get on your way in slicing, dicing, and coding your PSD.